Add the start streaming button there.
Yep.
Okay. Hello and welcome to Off Chain. My name is Jimmy Song and today is December 4th, 2017. With me today is Tone Vase. Say hi, Tone.
Hey man, pleasure as always. Took Sunday off, but that's all right. We're back with you guys first thing Monday morning.
Yeah, and a lot of news today. Let's start with this story. This is about U.S. Senate Bill 1241. This is going to criminalize concealed ownership of Bitcoin. Your thoughts on this, Tom?
Totally expected on my end. Been talking about this for years. People were making fun of me then, not so much anymore. This is going to be a problem. It's going to be a big problem. I mean, especially the senators involved. I mean, the moment you hear Dianne Feinstein's involved, you know it's going to be bad. I mean, she just wants to take away your guns. She wants to take away any rights you can possibly have. So, yeah, there's a lot of bad senators involved in this thing. I don't know. Let's see what happens. I mean, you see, the problem is that there's not enough Bitcoiners to create enough pushback, unlike what's been happening with net neutrality, right? Like there's enough people that will complain about this. This one is harder because there's not that many Bitcoiners, and Bitcoin is designed to be able to handle this. But people are going to worry a little bit. Like for the big institutions, this doesn't matter, right? So Wall Street getting in, this is completely irrelevant, right? For a lot of people, it's completely irrelevant. But for a person like me, this is a problem. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I know. Are you quoted in this as well?
I am. I didn't even realize until I just read it. I just said, yeah. The nice thing about laws is they take a long time. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, here's what we have to hope for, right? So by the time this thing passes, Bitcoin goes up to such a high price that Bitcoiners can do something about this, right? Because of their net worth and stuff. But it's hard for me to count because this is not a surprise to me, right? When it's not a surprise, I'm like, hey guys, why don't you go back to my videos from like 2 years ago when I explained all this and how it's going to happen? Because the only thing the governments are starting to care about right now is, taking our money. I mean, this is exactly how it always worked historically. Like if some rich people weren't on the same page with the government finds a way to take their money. This is why governments change religions as well, right? Because religion gets, a lot of donations, and when a certain religion starts to become, very powerful and rich from a lot of donations, the leaders of the country all of a sudden find a new messiah just so they can go after the religion that got rich and take their money.
Well, regardless, this is going to be a story going forward, especially if it makes it past. Or if it passes Senate and goes to the House or something like that. Anyway, second story. Treasury crackdown on Bitcoin over concerns it is used to launder money and dodge tax. This is from the Telegraph. This is in the UK. I'm kind of paywalled over here, but yeah, basically there's some sentiment that the UK is also looking to block Bitcoin and other cryptos for some sort of tax dodging purposes. Your thoughts?
They're partially correct. Right? Look, the problem isn't what people are doing with crypto. The problem is the current laws that are forcing people to do it with crypto. Right? I've said it for years. The best way to fight Bitcoin is to eliminate money laundering laws and to legalize voluntary transactions. And then the only thing that Bitcoin and crypto has over the standard financial system is the fact that it's a finite money supply. And I don't think that's a good enough reason to use Bitcoin, right? Because I'm trying to explain that if you think that Bitcoin and Litecoin and Monero and God knows what else will all coexist, then you don't really care for a finite money supply anyway, right? So the only advantage that crypto has over the financial system mostly is the fact that it can do these things. And fighting them, it'll just be so expensive for the government It's going to be a boogeyman. People are going to get arrested. Be careful how you spend your Bitcoin. I mean, you don't want to get arrested over a cup of coffee. I'll tell you that much. And this could be, this is going to be a big dynamic, right? Because like some people will fear Bitcoin, and some people will try to buy up as much Bitcoin as they can, just so that, you know, before some kind of crackdown happens, they can put it in cold storage. They can hold on to it for like 3 years until the government realizes how dumb this is, and then they're rich.
Yeah, yeah. We'll be watching closely, but certainly, you know, anytime the government tries to come in, you have to be a little bit more concerned. At least, you know, I mean, they could. I'm fine with losing my money. I'm not okay with losing my freedom.
Right, and it is spooking the market. It is spooking the price a little bit. I mean, there's a reason why this news could have drove the price up. You know, like, you know, you buy up all the alcohol you could before the day of prohibition and store it in your basement. So there's reasons for Bitcoin to go up in price, but considering how high we already are from the beginning of the year, it's also a good reason for it to go down. It's one of those pieces of news that you don't know which way is going to sway the price.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, next story. Enter the petro, Venezuela to launch oil-backed cryptocurrency. Apparently, President Nicolas Maduro is wants to make a cryptocurrency called the petro. And, you know, this is to obviously get around a lot of the international sanctions that he's subject to. And, you know, their beleaguered economy that has basically no useful currency. Yeah, your thoughts on Venezuela sort of going in this direction? I did not expect this.
Again, we cover these stories all the time. It's like another government that wants to go to crypto. I mean, this doesn't mean anything, right? I mean, this could have been done before Bitcoin, right? Though their technology was lacking a little bit. There's definitely going to be, I mean, it will be a centralized token. All this means is, like, he wants to double down on socialism by eliminating cash. I mean, the cash there is kind of worthless anyway. So backing it by oil, like, look, Venezuela could have been one of the richest countries in the world, considering how much oil they had. But because the government was in control of that oil and not private industry, they turned it into complete garbage. So why does anyone think that the combination of government money and government, you know, control of oil is going to be anything better than what they currently have?
Yeah, yeah. I do find it interesting that their monthly minimum wage is now like $4.30. And inflation will always sort of hit the government workers first because, you know, they're the ones that are getting paid in the government currency and they don't get the raises. I was having a talk with a friend of mine, and the real inflation rates for the U.S. are much higher than the reported ones. So government workers here are getting screwed as well. So yeah, it gets kind of crazy. I imagine they're gonna try to do this, but I mean, do they even have the programmers to be able to execute on something like this? These are mostly like government bureaucrats that are like saying we want X, Y, or Z. And you know, I mean, like in the U.S., you remember what happened with like the healthcare website. I mean, I can't imagine the disaster that this would be in Venezuela.
Right. No, it's like I said, like they could have been a rich country, but they, you know, look what they did with the oil and look what they did with their currency. Like combining the two, come on.
Yeah, it is going to be fun. All right, next story that we have is Bitcoin Investment Trust announces abandonment of Bitcoin Diamond and Byte Tether. Basically, GBTC, they sold, I think, their Bitcoin Cash and their Bitcoin Gold and basically added to their position somehow. They are now abandoning pursuit of Bitcoin Diamond and something called Byte Tether. I didn't even know what Byte Tether was until I looked it up after seeing this story. But Byte Tether was sort of like a pseudo fork. It was like a one-for-one exchange. I think it was more like an airdrop and an ERC20 token on Ethereum. We know that Bitcoin Diamond is still closed source. Nobody knows how to, nobody has like a copy of their blockchain or is able to write a transaction onto it. So we've been in the dark about Bitcoin Diamond for a while. I saw another project called Bitcoin Diamond, confusingly, that is not that is not the Bitcoin Diamond that forks. So there's a lot of confusion around both. It kind of surprising to me that they completely abandoned it. Your thoughts, Tone?
Well, why would that be surprising? I mean, just like us, I mean, they don't want to accidentally screw up. Yeah, I mean, if I ran one of these things, I would just put a rule in, we would not consider splitting coins until the price had an average price of a week to X amount of % of Bitcoin, right? But I would get ahead of this because they're going to be issuing these press releases every freaking day in the near future, right?
Yeah.
I would set a policy saying, hey, we will only consider forking off the we'll only consider selling the hard fork coins if the average price for, let's say, 2 weeks is greater than 3% or something like that, right? And they can say that the reason why is because every time we do a split, we put your actual Bitcoin at risk.
Well, I mean, they could move the Bitcoins. And I mean, I think you can automate the process, and you can certainly get some, I don't know. I would think they'd have a fiduciary duty to go get coins that they can. It's just that
but what's what I'm saying, I would set a policy saying that it has to be worth X amount of % gain. Otherwise, it's not worth it, because automated process or not, again, what if they promised you Bitcoin Diamond and added to your position, and then the closed source Bitcoin Diamond code took that money? Now they're responsible for the return that they were supposed to give to their investors.
Right. So I would say maybe instead of conditions being a percentage of the, worth a percent, Bitcoin Diamond, I think is 7% still.
On one exchange.
Yeah. So I would say something requirements are, it needs to be open source, and there has to be a liquid exchange that has it. But other than if those two conditions are met, I don't think the percentage matters quite as much, because the technical risk goes down significantly if you have
perhaps, but I would definitely put something in the terms of service for these things. I mean, GBTC has other problems besides this. I really don't like that.
Ethereum Classic Investment Trust and Zcash Investment Trust, clearly they're trying to go in other directions as well.
That too, but just the fact that he got that pink sheet through is, I think, is a disgrace on the part of the SEC, because it's such a contracted supply that it's driving the price, skewing the price of Bitcoin on. Anyway,
I think we all want a nice legit ETF instead of this crap, but yeah, it is rather crazy. All right, last story I have for today. People have spent over $1 million buying virtual cats on the Ethereum blockchain. Cryptokitties seems to be the new hotness over on Ethereum. And apparently people are getting so concerned that they actually had to increase the birthing fee from 0.001 Ethereum to 0.002 Ethereum because it was spamming the Ethereum blockchain. Apparently you could go and breed cats after you birth them and stuff, and you get these rare combinations of cat features, and then eventually you can sell them for thousands of dollars or something like that.
Millions, apparently.
Well, millions are being spent on it. A single cat, I think, the highest priced cat is 50 Ethereum, which is $23,000. Yeah, are you investing in Cryptokitties, Tom? What's your deal on that?
Oh my God! I mean, it's starting to get absurd. But that's Ethereum for you. I mean, this is exactly what it's good for. Wow. So I really thought the DAO would bring it down, but it would be so much more epic for a future movie if CryptoKitty brings down Ethereum.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta say that's kind of clever, right? Being able to breed cats as ERC20 tokens. And
can we see the advisors for this thing? Is there is there a link to their website? I want to see the creators and advisors.
Let me see. Design Studio. All right, let's see. This is Well, this is the
Wow.
studio. This is a lot of people. So
Wow.
yeah, I mean, I think they also make games and stuff. Let's see. Let's see. Careers usually will tell
Mm.
you what they are working on. Yeah, it's hard to tell, to standard, typical, here it's so much fun to work at our company pictures. But yeah, CryptoKitties site, maybe that will give us a better, yeah, here's the CryptoKitties site.
Is there an about?
Let's see, about, yes, right here. Future is exciting. Oh, somebody's asking me about Chris Ellis regarding Tether. I haven't watched that video, so I
Oh, he
will
has a
take a look.
video?
Well, so he went on Whalepool, and he talked about Tether,
No,
but
he didn't go. He's on whale pool like every day. It's not like
well,
a.
well,
Yeah, he's
they
part of
they
that.
recorded a voice interview and he posted it to his Twitter. So I haven't watched that yet or
What's
listened
the
to
review about what?
about Tether.
In which context? Do we know?
I'm guessing the thing that he tweeted about, which is that a big story is dropping today.
Ah, all
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Well, let's see. Let's see if it drops. I want to see that Bloomberg story
yeah,
of
yeah.
a
Yes.
guy trying to withdraw 1 million Tether that seems to have the Tether people upset, considering it's 700 something million.
Yeah, yeah. We'll see. Yeah, I don't see any sort of like advisors or anything, but you can apparently if you install MetaMask, then you can do some random things with these kitties.
I think we've beaten this.
It's a dead horse. All right, yeah, or
I was gonna
dead
say
kitty.
cat, but,
All right, let's go to the markets. Your thoughts, Tone?
oh man! All right, here we go. Wait, let me make sure I'm on the right page here. Hold on. Okay, now I'm on the right page. All right, let's go to the markets.
Yeah, there we go.
Well, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting week. Now, I think that technically we're ready to correct.
Mm.
Let's see what happens. Right now, we're ready to correct. The week has just begun, the new week. I'm expecting this. I mean, look, I'm just going by technicals, right?
Mm.
The last time I had a weekly 9 with a red arrow was here, the completed 9. There was actually a 9 over here as well in the beginning of the week, but because the week was so bad, it flipped the color. Now, when this happens, when the color flipped on September 11th, that was actually more of a positive sign than a negative sign, because the 9 didn't come, it actually left some more bullish momentum, and it got us, this 13 here. Okay, so when a 9 doesn't come, it's like, it's not a bad thing because now we have more. And now the last time a 9 did show up, this was a serious correction. This was from 3,000 all the way to 1,800, and at the time I was hoping for 1,300 to really reset us, but we didn't get there. So that was a big correction. I mean, 3,000 to 1,800 is like 40+%. And here's another 9, right? Like, of course, it doesn't have to fall, but I'm more bearish here than bullish, just based on this until we get a new all-time high, and then that cancels it out. Here's the daily chart. The daily is what I was focused on yesterday in my video, and the daily is on a 9 and a 13 on the same day. Let's go backwards and see the last time that happened. A 9 and a 13 on the same day on a daily chart. And here it is, right? Here's the last time that happened. And this was September 1st. And we immediately started to correct. And we went from just under 5,000, and we bottomed out at 3,000. So that's a $2,000 drop on 5,000. So what are we looking at there?
40% correct.
Another 40%, right? Yeah. So look, I take these seriously. The last time there was a 9, it was just a 1-day correction. But this was a more interesting situation. We see how flat we are. There was no blow off top. And also we're right near prior all-time highs. So and we were in the middle of a run up to a 9 on a weekly chart. So this was not a very scary 9 on a daily. This was a scarier 9 on a daily, which is why I was calling tops back here, because back on November 5th, if I go to the weekly chart, November 5th is over here coming off of the 13 and running us into 7,500. So, and I kind of talked about it, right? And I talked about, we can have a big correction and then bounce and still get a weekly 9. That's actually exactly what happened. So I took this 9 way more seriously, called a top. Didn't turn out to be the top for the year. That's fine. And here it is. And now we had like 2 blow-off tops. And it's not exactly a double top either, because this one clearly went higher than that one, broke it by almost $500. The high was, what was the high? 11,875, and the high here was 11,441. So that's enough difference for me to say it's a higher high and a higher close, right? This was the thing I was worried about. I was worried about having a higher close high, but a lower intraday high. But this one kind of fit them both. I mean, I have to be bearish here going in, but when am I wrong? Well, it's simple. Again, once again, I mean, I'm saying, I'm like repeating myself from November 5th. When am I wrong? Well, I'm wrong when I see a close. We're going to go with the close. When I see a close above the prior high, I will say, you know what, the correction is not going to happen, right? So you can start timing your bullish trades the moment things start closing above the prior high, right? Now, as far as the indicator itself is concerned, it automatically puts a stop loss line that is very generous, because remember, this is designed for like stocks and currencies, which are not as volatile. So same thing here. When this 9 came, it automatically put in something called a risk line. And you can see how on that, the 2x cancellation, it came right into that risk line and then dropped. Okay? And then it came into the risk line again, and once it hung around the risk line for 3 days, and then finally closed above it, it was all over, and then we were bullish once again. So I'm kind of looking at it the same way. I'm not even going to consider any bullish trades until after I see a brand new all-time close. As far as short trades, again, how do you time it? Using traditional market analysis, you had a doji and you fell below that doji yesterday for a potential short. Now, of course, right now, that short is not profitable. It's in the red, right? But now there is another one here. So I'm going to draw another red line. So you get another shorting opportunity or adding to your position as a trader below the new low, right? Because now this is the top doji, not the prior one, right? So if you were in this trade on a short based on traditional trading, you may still be in this position because your stop loss should be above the doji for now until you start lowering it. And let's see what happens. I'm pretty bearish here, and as we cross these bearish lines, I become more bearish. And we have plenty of time to talk about. People are already asking me, how low can this go? Guys, I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea. Let's see how this develops. But either way, based on this time indicator that I have, you take profits on a 9 and you wait. You never trade the ones. So if you have a green 2 above a green 1, above this yellow line, yeah, you go back in for your bullish safe trades. And if you start to go down, the indicator would give you a short trade the moment the red candle starts trading below the green candle, which doesn't always work very well because I'm looking at it right here, right? You had a 9 and you had a candle with a red number trading just below the candle with this. Yeah, that's a short play. That did not work out. And then you can flip it to a long play and make up for all of those losses and then some. Not every trade's going to work, Just got to make money at the end. All right, quickly moving on to the 4-hour chart. The 4-hour chart, did give you an exit a little prematurely. And later, the next day, this was on the candle number 8. Would have been nice to get to an 8 here, didn't get there. Would have been nice to get to a 13, didn't get there, but that's okay. The daily trumps the 4-hour. I mean, it's I still think it worked out fairly well. If you started exiting a day early, you're still okay. It was the safe trade to do. And here is the 1-hour chart. Again, you had a 913 on the same day, which is kind of cool. And and the 1-hour chart isn't doing too much for you right now. There might be this one last 13 coming in, and then all the bullish momentum has been exhausted. And also here, you had a 9, it put in this risk line, and the risk line was never crossed. And now we're starting to go down. So as far as the hourly chart is concerned, for you ultra, short swing traders, you have 2 lines of interest. One line is here. Once you go below this line, you can start to get nervous as a bullish. I'm a holder. I know Bitcoin will be fine, but as a trader, if you're in a bullish trade, you should start to get. This is where the double bottom rule comes in, and then the bottom just drops out, and then you have these other 2. This one's kind of hard. I'm just gonna put in a zone. So you have this zone of double, the lows here, and you just got to be careful with the zone a little bit, and that's pretty much it. Like once it goes below these, this is how bottoms drop out. Like this is where people start to panic. It's kind of what I said the other day when we did this back off of the 7,500. Like once you go below a certain number, just people panic. So once you go below this yellow line on the hourly chart, I think people might panic. The good news is you might run into like this momentum swing into like a red 9 on the hourly, and then that can bounce you back for a couple of hours back to this yellow line. So maybe I'll draw arrows, and that would be my ending. So I would be more bearish here like that, like into this area somewhere. Maybe make a lower low or something. I don't know. I'm just when I do these lines, I'm sort of guessing, and then like maybe a little bounce back to the yellow line.
Wouldn't that be a double bottom?
Well, sort of, right? That's and then lower, right? On the rebound back to the breakdown point, like that.
I see.
Giving you something like that. All right.
Well, I think everyone is waiting to see what happens with price, because it's kind of getting crazy.
All right. I just want to mention one last thing. Someone tweeted this article at me, and this is again going back to the taxes thing. I don't want to keep talking about it, but this is what bothered me. So people mentioned, but we talked about it here. I talked about it on my channel about taking your Bitcoin from Coinbase into your own Trezor, right? Which may be illegal in the very near future. But the comparison that a lot of people make is, and this is what bothers me, right? So here, I strongly disagree with what I said, right? Because the sale has been made, because no sale has been made, no gains have been realized. And then it says right here, I believe that this is more akin to accepting delivery of physical stock certificates for stocks you were holding in your E-Trade account. That is I can't understand why those are the same thing, because when you buy Apple stock and you request the delivery of those shares still have your name on them. They are not bearer assets. Just because you are now holding the shares and not E-Trade, your name is still assigned to those shares. That's not the case with Bitcoin. Your Bitcoin sitting in Coinbase has your name on it. But once you take that Bitcoin off of Coinbase, it's a bearer asset at that point, right? Your name isn't assigned to it anymore. So it's not the same thing as taking the delivery of a stock. But anyway, well, we'll see where it goes. And we talked about that. All right, that's pretty much it. Let me stop screen share here.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. We had to do the show early today, and we will probably be doing this show early all week this week, just because Tone and my schedules have worked out that way. Anyway, thank you everyone for joining us, and this song is done.